Yes, children. Today we are in part 2. The name of the lesson is The Gift of the Magi. I hope you understood part 1. So we shall continue with part 2 that starts from paragraph 18. Ho, and the next 2 hours tripped by on rosy wings. Forget harsh metaphor. She was ransacking the stores of Jim's present. Now, here what happened in the last paragraph. She was sitting with the hairdresser, and for her wavy, beautiful, shiny hair, a hairdresser gave her 20 her hairdresser gave her $20. Okay. And then she was flying. She was so happy that she sold her hair and got the money. The most important thing is she got the money to buy a beautiful present for her husband on the Christmas Eve. She found it at last. It surely had been made for Jim and no one else. There was no other like it in any of the stores. Now she gets into the one of the stores and she takes a look at a very beautiful item. Let me tell you what it is. Next paragraph. She found that and she feels, yes, this is for my Jim. This is made for my Jim. The present, which is so nice, it is made for my Jim, she says. There was no other like it in any other stores. Means she found a very beautiful gift and which she had never found in any of the stores. And she had turned all of them inside out. It was a platinum fob chain, simple, hasty in design. A fob chain means, children, you can look at the board. Fob, a chain by which a pocket watch is attached to the waist coat. Okay, so now here she finds a beautiful watch which is not tied on, which is kept on a waistcoat. Okay, she says this, and it is a platinum kind, and it is also a chastity design, means it is not very funky. It is very nice and elegant to have a look at it. Okay, properly proclaiming its value by substance alone and not by meretricious ornamentation, as all good things should do. It was even worthy of the watch. As soon as she saw it, she knew that it must be Jim's. It was like him. How was Jim? He was quietness and value. Here, who describes? Della describes saying that this watch is made for Jim, I feel, because Jim is also very quiet and value. In the same way, I also feel this beautiful watch, which has to be kept in his pocket with a waistcoat, she describes. The description applied to both. $21 they took from her for it. Now here she says that the cost of the watch is $21. She hurried home with the 87 cent. With that chain on his watch, Jim might be probably anxious about the time in any company. Grand as the watch was, he sometimes looked at it on the sly on account of an old leather strap that he used in the place of a watch. Children, on the sly means secretly you can keep it. Yeah, secretly. The meaning of on the sly, it means secretly. Now, here she hurries home to bring that 87 cent which is at home. She gives both of the money and she takes the watch. When Della reached home, her intoxication gave way a little to prudence and reason. She got out of curling irons and lighted the gas and went to work repairing the ravages made by generosity added to love, which is always a tremendous task, dear friends, a Momo task. Now she's at home. She comes home with the watch and she's all set to give a present to her husband. She keeps everything ready and she's waiting for her husband. And now here her task starts. It means she has to go to the kitchen, turn on the gas, and do her cooking. She says here. Within 40 minutes, her head was covered with tiny close-lying curls, and that made look wonderfully like a taunt schoolboy. She looked at her reflection in the mirror long, carefully, and critically. Now, here what happens? Now it's time for Jim to come home. Of course, she should look beautiful. That the Jim should not feel that she's something weird without her hair. So she wanted to dress up. She dressed up. She took her time to clean her hair, to curl her hair. She used a curling machine, which is used curling iron. Okay, it means an instrument used to curl her hair. She got dressed up and finally she comes up the room like a taunt schoolboy. Okay, taunt schoolboy. She looks she looked at her reflection in the mirror long, carefully, and critically. She feels, oh, am I looking okay with this hairstyle? She feels that. If Jim doesn't kill me, she said to herself, if Jim doesn't kill me, she said to herself, before he takes a second look at me, he will say, I look like a Coney Island chorus girl. He says, if Jim doesn't kill me, means she's really very afraid now what Jim will think without a hair in me, what he will feel. She's very scared and she feels that if Jim doesn't kill me, when he takes a second look at me, he will say that you are looking like a Coney Island chorus girl. Coney Island chorus girl is in an island, that's an entertainment place where they entertain people. You are looking like that. He will say, I look like a Coney Island chorus girl. But what could I do? I could, what could I do with with $1.87? At 7 o'clock, the coffee was made and the frying pan was on the back of the stove, hot and ready to cook the chops. Now it's time, that is 7 o'clock. Now it was time for Jim to come home. Now she's preparing tea and she's also trying to make something, snacks. Jim was never late. Della doubled the fob chain in her hand and sat on the corner of the table near the door that he always entered. Then she heard his step on the stairs away down on the first flight, and she turned white for just a moment. She had a habit of saying little silent prayers about the simplest everyday thing. And now she whispered, please, God, make him think I am still pretty. Now it's all set. Now it's time for Jim to come home. She's ready with the tea and she's ready with the chop. And then she has a very nice habit praying to God every day. And so now here she whispers to God, God, please make him think that I'm still beautiful without my hair. She has a prayer, and here today she feels that my husband should feel that. Please, God, make him feel I'm still pretty. Now, here it was the time for Jim to come home. She could hear the steps too, and she feels that she has to pray to God and he should accept her. The door opened, and Jim stepped in and closed it. He just came inside, he put his foot inside, he closed the door. He looked thin and very serious. Poor fellow, He was only 22, and to be burdened with the family. He needed a new overcoat, and he was without gloves. And here the author describes this poor Jim was only 22 years, but he has so much of burden to be carried on with his family. He came home without his overcoat and without his gloves, and he was looking very serious. Jim stopped inside the door, and immovable as a satyr at the scent of quill. His eyes were fixed upon Della, and there was an expression in them that she could not read. When Jim came into the room, Della could see his face, and she felt that there was an expression he wanted to show, but I couldn't understand what he was trying to say with his eyes. And it terrified her. It means she was scared because Jim has seen her without her hair. She was worried about her, that what Jim would think. But Jim came inside, he just gave an expression to her. He just looked at her, and she was terrified. She was afraid. It was not anger nor surprise. The Jim looked at her, and it was not angry. I mean, he was not angry, or he was not surprised nor disapproval. Means it was not unhappy. He was not happy. He was not happy, nor horror, nor any of the sentiments that she had been prepared for. He simply stared at her fixedly with that peculiar expression on his face. Peculiar means something strange expression on his face. Now, the scenario, you can just close your eyes and imagine when Della is standing and he opens the door, he comes into the house. He gives an expression to Della, and now here Della is terrified what he will say, what he will do, what he will think. But as soon as Jim arrived home, he just looked at her and he didn't talk anything, nor his expression was serious, nor his expression was surprised, nor he was angry, or nor he was happy. Della wiggled off the table and went off him. Jim, darling, she cried, don't look at me that way. I had my hair cut off and sold because I could not have lived through Christmas without giving you a gift. She says, Jim, darling, I sold my hair. I cannot even think of a Christmas Eve without presenting you a gift. It will grow out again. You won't mind, will you? I just had to do it. My hair grows awfully fast. She says, she convinces him saying, don't worry, Jim. My hair will grow very fast. You don't worry about my hair. Sorry, says Merry Christmas, Jim, and let's be happy. You don't know what a beautiful, nice gift I have got for you. Now here, Della says, Jim, don't worry about my hair. My hair will grow very fast. Don't get worried. Now here is the gift for you. Please, I think that you will like my gift. Here is your gift. Happy Christmas or Merry Christmas. She wishes Jim and she gives. You have cut off your hair, asked Jim laboriously. He took too much of time. As if he had not arrived at the pretend fact yet, even after the hardest mental labor. Now here, after all the scenario, slowly Jim asks Della, have you cut off your hair? He took a lot of time and asked. Cut it off and sold it, said Della. What did she say? Cut it off and sold it, said Della. Don't worry, like me, just as well anyhow. I am me without my hair, amn't I? So here she says, I cut my hair. It's okay, Jim. I have just cut my hair. But even though I am, but even though I, you cannot say I am somebody. Yes, Jim, I cut my hair and sold it, said Della. Don't you like me just as well? Anyhow, I am me without my hair, amn't I? She says. Jim looked about the room curiously. So he just took a look at the room curiously. You say your hair is gone, he said, with an air almost of idiocy, means extremely a behavior. You needn't look for it, said Della. So he take a look at his room. So here Della says, you don't have to look at the room. Look for it, said Della. You needn't look for it, said Della. It is sold. It's given. I tell you, sold and gone. Della is telling. I'm telling you, I have sold my hair and it is gone. It's Christmas Eve, boy. Be good to me. And it went for you, she says. It is a Christmas Eve. Be good to me. And I have given my hair. It's for you. I sold my hair and I brought a present for you. It's okay. Forget it, she says. Now it is Christmas. Let us be good. Maybe the hair on my head were numbered. She went on with sudden serious sweetness. But nobody could even count my love for you. Shall I put the chops on, Jim? Hear what she says? Maybe the hairs on my head were numbered. She went on with sudden serious sweetness. But nobody could even count my love for you. I shall put the chop on, Jim. Out of his trance, Jim seemed quickly to wake. He enfolded his Della for 10 seconds. For 10 seconds, let us regret with discreet scanty some inconsequential object in the other direction. Inconsequential object means insignificant object in the other direction. $8 a week or million a year. What is the difference? A mathematician or a wit would give you the wrong answer. The Magi brought valuable gifts, but that was not among them. This dark accretion will be illustrated later on. Here, now we will all put all this gift aside and let's enjoy the Christmas, he says. Now here he says, even the counting of the dollars, we had 8, but we were having so many problems, so many consequences we have faced, but let us keep aside all. Jim drew a packet from his overcoat pocket. Jim drew a package from his overcoat pocket and threw it upon the table. Now here, Jim, he puts his hand into the pocket and he takes out something and he just put it on the table. He says, don't make any mistake, Del, he said. I'm just taking something and putting it on the table. Don't mistake me. He said about me, I don't think there is anything in the way of a haircut or a shave or a shampoo that could make me like my girl any less. But if you would have unwrapped the package, you may see why you had me going a while at first. Now here, Della says, here Jim says, having a conversation. Do not feel bad that I am taking something and keeping it on the table. Don't mind, but I want you to open it and feel what have I bought it for you. White fingers and nibble tore at the string and paper, and then an ecstatic scream of joy, and then, alas, a quick feminine change to hysterical tears and wails, unnecessitating the immediate employment of all the comforting powers of lords of the flat. For they laid the combs and set of combs, side and stand and back, that Della had worshipped for long in a Broadway window. Now here what happens? Jim throws something it on the table and he also says, do not feel bad that I am just keeping it on the table. You can unwrap it and see what it is. So now here, Della opens it. She opens it and the moment she saw the present, she could not give any of the expression. And she wanted this gift from a very long time. And what was the gift? The gift was a beautiful comb. Children, I hope you can understand the twist of the story. Here, Della sold her hair and brought a gift as a present for Jim. And what did Jim do? Jim brought a beautiful comb that she wanted it from many, many years. She wanted it from the many, many years, but she couldn't have. But now, as a present, Jim had given her a beautiful comb, pure tortoise shell with jeweled, rimmed just the shade to wear in a beautiful vanished hair. They were expensive combs. She knew, and her heart had simply curled and yawned over them without the least hope of possession. And now they were hers, but the tresses that should have adorned that coveted adornment were gone. I think you all can feel what she would have felt, her sense, when she was opening such a beautiful gift that Jim had bought for her, a beautiful comb, original tortoise shell comb, which is made, and it has a lot of value. That much beautiful present he has gifted her. But unfortunately, she feels at that moment, I'll not be able to use it. But she hugged them to her blossom, and at length she was able to look up with dim eyes and smile and say, my hair grows fast, Jim. Yeah, she hugs. Here who? Della and Jim. Della hugs Jim and she says, what she says? She hugged them to her blossom, and at length she was able to look up with dim eyes, means her sadness could feel, we were able to see her sadness in her eyes and smile and say, my hair grows fast, Jim. And then Della leaped up like a little swined cat and cried, ho, ho. Jim had not yet seen his beautiful present. She held it out to him eagerly upon her open palm. The dull, precious metal seemed to flash with the reflection of her bright and ardent spirit. Now here she realizes, oh, my gift hasn't reached Jim yet. So she opens Jim's palm and she keeps it on his palm. Isn't it a dandy, Jim? She's asking, isn't it nice? Isn't it beautiful? I brought something for you. I hunted all over town to find it. You will have to look at the time 100 times a day now. Give me your watch. I want to see how it looks on you. Now here, Jim's possession was, as you all know, that it was a watch, a leathered watch which was passed by grandfather to father and father to Jim. So now in that watch, the leather was not that good. So it was a damaged kind of. So here she brought him she brought him a watch which which she wanted him to use it in us, use it in his waistcoat, and to look at the times 100 times in a day. So she says, you always look at the time, so I want you to see it. You see this time 100 times. So when you see this, you may feel that yes, something like that, touching. Isn't it a dandy, Jim? I hunted all over town to find it. You will have to look at it 100 times a day now. Give me your watch. I want to see how it looks on it. Now she's asking, Jim, give me the watch. I want to see how it looks on you. Instead of obeying, Jim tumbled down on the couch and put his hands under the back of his head and smiled. Now, couch means he sat on the sofa. He did, instead of obeying her words, he just sat on the sofa, putting his hand behind, and he was just lying down. Till he said, let's put our Christmas presents away and keep away a while. He says, Della, let us keep all the Christmas gifts away. They are too nice to use just as a present. I sold the watch to get the money to buy your combs. And now suppose you put the shop on. Here, he says, please keep all the gifts away. It is very nice to look at the gifts. Please keep them away. I sold the watch to buy a gift for you. What did he say, children? I sold the watch. Here, Della sold her hair, but she got a present as a comb from her husband. And here what happened? Jim sold his watch to buy a present for Della. What has happened? Now he says, you can go to the kitchen and cook the chop. The Magi, as you know, were wise men, wonderfully wise men who brought gifts to the baby and the manager. They invited the art of the giving Christmas present. Children, in those days, it is talking a little about Christmas Eve. In those days, the king used to present gifts for the children. That is the kids. They used to give presents. That's how they started. During the Christmas Eve, they used to present gifts as a happiness to one another. Okay, so this was being followed. So they also followed this. And at last, what happened? They say that they are wise. These people are wise. But unfortunately, what happened? Due to the financial crisis, they had to sell something and buy something. So at that time, it was their foolishness. That is what here the trick of the story is. I want to buy you a present to make you happy, and you want to buy a present to make me happy. Yes, it is wise. Logically speaking, it is wise. But practically what happened there, at the time, the comb cannot be used and here the watch cannot be used. In this scenario, they were foolish. Yeah? But literally speaking, they are really wise. But in this scenario, they have become foolish. That is what here they meant. The Magi, as you know, were wise men, wonderfully wise men who brought gifts to the baby in the manger. They invited the art of giving Christmas presents, being wise. Their gifts were no doubt wise ones, possibly bearing the privilege of exchange in case of duplication. And here I have lamely related to you the uneventful chronicle of two foolish children in a flat who most unwisely sacrificed for each other. See, they were able to sacrifice anything for their love. They were able to sacrifice anything, but accidentally the gifts, they were not able to use it. That is what they say. Here what they say, being wise, their gifts were no doubt wise, possibly bearing the privilege of exchange in case of duplication. And here I have lamely related to you the eventful chronicle of two foolish children in a flat, who mostly unwisely sacrificed for each other the greatest treasures of their house. But in the last word to the wise of these days, let it be said that all who gave gifts, these two were the wisest of all who gave and received gifts, such as they were wisest, everywhere they are wisest. They are Magi. Okay, so here the conclusion is giving gifts and taking gifts is really wonderful, and it is also the wisest idea. They are actually wise. But in this scenario, what had happened? They became a little fool. They were fooled. They were little foolish to use that criteria. Okay, children. Now, this is the story about the gift of a Magi. I hope you understood. Now, let me revise you the meaning. On the sly, secretly, curling iron, an instrument used to curl hair. Momit, it's a huge task. She says it's a huge task to dress my hair without a long hair. Now I need to keep it ready. It's a big, big task. That is what here it means, huge task. For a chain by which a pocket watch is attached to a wrist coat. A chain by which a pocket watch is attached to a waist coat. Terrified? Angry? No. Scared. Terrified is not angry. I'm scared of something. Okay? Terrified, scared, fear. Peculiar, something different. Different to what is normal or strange. Something not normal. Laboriously, taking a lot of time. Taking a lot of time. Inconsequential, insignificant, ecstatic, very excited and enthusiastic, ecstatic, very excited and enthusiastic, tumbled, fallen. He tumbled down on the sofa, that is on the couch, and he was relaxing. Okay, I hope you understood the lesson, the gift of Magi. Thank you, children.